Find Me in the Dark contains graphic content that may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Find Me in the Dark. I'm your host, Eric Phillips, with my co-host, Robert Prestige.
What's going on, guys?
And we have a very special guest today. Robert, you are very close to her, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? Yeah. It is Crystal, Rob's sister.
My one and only. Crystal, thank you for coming on and doing this with us. I know it's not easy for you, and I definitely appreciate it, and I love you. Just so you know, I don't say it enough.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you for having me.
So this is a micro episode, but I don't know. We never checked what number it is.
Yeah, I completely forgot to do that. So it's the newest micro that we have out.
It's under 10.
Yeah, it's definitely under 10. I think it's like 8, I think, or 9. So this week we are going to be talking about something very personal to myself and to my sister and to my entire family. A man named Chester Mass, who was a roommate of my father's, decided to kill his girlfriend in front of my dad and held my dad hostage for multiple hours before the police were able to take him out. So I don't want to get too far into it, but that's kind of the gist of it. My sister was a big part of it. She was here in town. I was down in Florida at the time, and just full disclosure, I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything, but during this time in my life, me and my father weren't all that close. We had our differences, and so I didn't talk to him on a regular basis. I mean, later on in our lives, like we made amends and we became really close. But during this time of our lives, like we weren't really close. So unfortunately, I don't have all the information. Like he never talked to me or to anybody in our family about this just because it was so traumatic. The only person that he opened up to was my sister, and to tell you a little bit about my sister and my dad's relationship, my sister started taking care of my father when my dad got really sick a few years ago, and she was paid by the state to take care of him. So she was there every day when he was still living on his own. And then after all this happened, he ended up being living with my sister full time for a majority of the rest of his life, until he decided to ultimately move back up to up north Wisconsin. But so anyways, they were really, really close. And so, like I said, she is the only person that my father really ever opened up and told the real story to. So anyways, I don't want to talk too much more about it. We'll kind of try to get into the story here. So
yeah, I didn't even know about this until a few days ago.
Yeah,
and we've been friends for ever.
Yeah, literally forever. It's just something that we don't talk about. I mean, it's a very touchy thing, and I try not to bring out demons, and like I said, I wasn't really a part of it, but I know it's not easy for my sister to be here to talk about it because she doesn't really talk about it. She's never even like a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today, I'm going to learn for the first time too.
Right.
Just so I want everybody to know that.
Yeah, I know nothing about this,
yeah,
so I will learn everything.
So you ready to get into it, Crystal? You got anything to say?
No, I'm ready.
All right.
All right. So basically, what this is going to be is just doing an interview with my sister, and asking her questions, and she's going to give us the best answers that she knows. So.
All right, so the first question is, how did you hear of the events of December 4th, and were you familiar with the people involved in the crimes besides your father?
Yes. I seen everybody that was involved every day.
Yeah.
I took care of my dad every day, so I would go over there and I seen all three of them all the time.
Yeah.
And, so December 4th, I was actually dropping my children off at school. And I was on my way back, and usually at that time I would go to my dad's, and I would go and make him breakfast
Right.
and give him his medication and whatnot. And then that day I went down the road, kind of by where he lived, and I saw a big tank in front of his house.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, what the heck is going on? So then I drove around onto 22nd Ave, which is, a busy street. And I literally parked in the middle of the street because there were cops blocking the road where my dad lived on. And I parked in the street, grabbed my daughter, and tried to run to my dad's house because
Yeah.
I'm like, my dad is in that house, let me in. And they were like, ma'am, you can't go in there. And I'm like, well, where's my father? Well, we can't discuss that with you right now. I'm going to need you to go around to the church because there was a church behind my dad's house. And that is where they set up camp, like, for the whole standoff. It was like all of the people were there.
So, I mean, what else? I mean, you said there was a tank there. I mean, how can you estimate, like, how many cops were there? Was there a lot of people just standing around? I mean,
there was a lot of cops standing and, like, kind of blocking traffic because the big tank was out there and they were trying to... At this point, Chet had my dad hostage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
did they know about the murder?
No.
Okay.
I don't believe so at that time. I'm not too sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive.
So at that point, were you able to... Did you try to call Dad on the phone?
Yes. I was trying to call my dad. I called Chet. I called everyone. And the Chet finally answered the phone. And at this time I was in the back, and behind the church. And I was waiting.
Were you by... Was there other officers by you or a detective or anything like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
there was a bunch of officers by me. And I just, like, they told me not to call. But I just kept calling because I needed to make sure my dad was okay.
Yeah, of course.
And Chet answered the phone, and he's like, I did something stupid. And I'm like, well, where is my dad? And he was like, he's here. And I said, well, he needs to come out. You need to let my dad out, He's like, I did something stupid, Crystal. I'm so sorry. I effed up. I'm so sorry. And I was like, well, I just want my dad. I don't care what you did, to be honest. I just want my dad out of there. And then the cops took my phone. And that's the only communication they had with him was through my phone.
Really?
Yeah. Because his mom tried calling him. He didn't answer to her. Nothing. He answered to me, though. He had that much respect to answer to me, knowing my dad was in there.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So how long do you think it was? I remember seeing this video and it destroyed me. As you can see, our father running out of the house, and my dad was not very healthy at this point. He was on oxygen, and that's why my sister was taking care of him. He had a lot of health issues, but like I said, he had oxygen with an oxygen tank, and he eventually was able to get out of the house. But you see him like holding his hands up and trying to hold the oxygen tank and stuff, and you see him run behind the tank. Where were you when all that happened?
I was still behind the church.
Oh, so you didn't see him?
No, I could not see Dad right away. Dad, they wouldn't even let me talk to Dad when they actually brought him behind the church. And when I saw my dad, I was like, thank God, he's okay. But the cops obviously wanted to talk to him before I could talk to him. And I was like freaking out.
No,
if anybody knows me, they know that I was very protective of my father. So I was like freaking out, and I was cussing at the cops to let me be by my dad. And it didn't help any. And then finally, when I got to be by my dad was telling me, you know, Crystal Chad did something. He killed Heather. And he did something to Heather. Heather's hurt. He didn't know she was dead.
Right,
and I was like, really? You know, like, I didn't know what was going on. And he was like, you know, I don't know where she is. And finally the cop told him, you know, he shot Heather. And my dad had a full-blown panic attack, and he actually had a heart attack and ended up in the hospital when that happened.
Wow.
Yeah. So...
when did the police allow you to communicate with your father, and where did they end up taking him?
They took him behind the church, and they let me talk to him while we were behind the church, after they spoke with him. And then when I was by him, that's when they told him, you know, that
So
she wasn't alive.
where did they take him?
To the hospital.
So,
Okay.
to the hospital.
Yeah.
And another thing, when he came out of the house, did they know that he was a victim, or were they...
I'm not quite sure because
Yeah.
I wasn't there,
Right.
but they knew that my dad was in there, and he wouldn't let my dad leave. He was actually holding him hostage with a gun. Like, he was telling my dad, you're not going to leave, you know, you saw what happened, or whatever he was saying to him. He basically put my dad in, like, a really bad situation.
So about how long from when you first got there to when Dad was able to get out of the house? How long do you think that was?
It was, for me to be able to see him and Dad to get out, it was probably about 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. But he was held there for 5 hours, I believe, because I think it was going on for almost an hour before I even seen what happened.
Okay.
Damn, that's a crazy long time.
Yeah,
That
it
sounds
is.
so stressful.
You think?
Yeah.
Plus,
Yeah.
this guy's obviously unhinged inside the house.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you can only imagine what he's
gotta
trying
be-
to figure something out.
There's got to
you
be
know?
so much chaos going on. It's unreal.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned that they took your phone.
Yes.
Did they take anything else from you or from your dad?
No.
Yeah.
They took my phone, and they had my phone throughout this whole process, like the whole time he was in there. Until they got him out finally. They had my phone because that was the only communication
That's
they had.
why they took it?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like wondering
Yeah.
why would they take her phone?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't...
Because he wouldn't answer.
Okay.
Yeah, to anyone else.
Yeah.
So they had my phone.
And so after all that, and you're still behind. So now you're still behind the church. And did you go with Dad to the hospital, or did you stay on scene?
I did go and see Dad at the hospital because I left. I was like, I'm not going to, stay and wait for all of this. So I went and saw my dad at the hospital. They wouldn't let me back there right away. So I was like waiting a while.
Were the police there too?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah.
Were they
Yes.
questioning
Yeah,
him?
yeah,
That's
Yes.
probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was
Okay,
wondering.
that makes sense.
Yeah, but no, not at the hospital. They weren't questioning him
Okay,
right away because
okay.
he had a heart attack.
Yeah, I guess that would probably.
So they were like basically focused on that, thankfully. But and I mean he survived. So
So he was in the hospital for probably about what? How long do you think?
a week.
A week.
Wow.
And then, and I remember this, and me and you talked, while it was all going on, and because like I said, I was down in Florida, and so, but obviously I wasn't trying to pry too much because I knew everything was super emotional, and my sister's a strong person, and I knew that she could handle it, and and she was taking care of you. My dad was in
Yeah.
the right hands, so. Me just asking questions is just going to escalate it and, and bring nerves that don't need to be brought up, and things like that. So now I know after Dad got out, so we should say, right after that, not too long after that, there's video of them taking this robot and breaking out a window on the side of the house and throwing a flash grenade
Oh, okay.
inside the house,
Yeah.
and then you see the SWAT team go in the house, and then they get Chet out of the
It was
building.
a
Jeez.
while after that.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had a standoff. I believe it was like 11 hours. Yeah.
That's so crazy.
But because they were trying so hard, and Chet actually barricaded himself into the house. So he was in the house, and there was like mattresses everywhere. He barricaded himself with his shotgun and another gun that he had, and it was crazy.
Yeah, I was reading the police records, and they said that he had just bought these guns too.
Yeah.
Like a couple days prior.
Because he said that he got jumped and people were watching him, and like.
Yeah, but we also should say that he was a very bad drug addict.
Oh,
I
very
was going to say
bad.
it sounds like, yeah.
I mean,
He
sounds like some paranoia.
Was
Yeah,
very
for sure.
high all the time.
Where was your dad when the gunshot went off?
My dad was actually in his recliner.
he
And
always is.
yeah, and
he loved his recliner.
the TV was here. Chet's bedroom was right here. So
the TV was like in front of him, and then
well, it's kitty corner a little bit, and Dad was here, and that like it. Dad saw when Heather fell.
Yeah.
Dad saw her feet, and everything that happened. So you could just imagine the way it made Dad feel.
So, how long was it until Dad was even able to open up to you and like start talking to you about the events that actually took place inside the house?
It took a while. He still, I mean, before he passed, it's still, he had PTSD bad about it.
Of course.
Like it was hard for him to talk about it, but he knew that like I understood because I mean I was there with him.
Yeah.
I mean I wasn't in the house, but I was there.
Did he tell you in like bits and pieces about it, or kind of just?
Yeah, because like he tried to like not think about everything that happened, and then like little things would come back and be like, oh yeah, like I remember exactly what happened, and I remember this, and like so things would, it took him a while to open up to like the cops and give him his whole story that happened, because he couldn't like put everything together in his head. It was like pieces everywhere.
It's got to be, it's got to be hard to recall all that stuff when it's such a violent and crazy situation. I mean, even in like if I witness like fights and stuff like that, I don't remember all the information in that. I can't imagine that type of situation. And before it happened, do you know if there was any like an argument or something leading up to it, or if there was any indication that this was going to happen? Or
I mean, I'm sure
if
they fought all the time, and just he was mean. He hit her a lot, and like he was mean. He was very violent.
And that's we seem to hear that story a lot, where it starts out with the domestic violence.
She was
and then,
gonna leave him. She had just got a job, and she was so happy that she got a job, and that's the saddest part, is because she was gonna leave, and unfortunately she didn't make
chance
it.
to. Yeah, she didn't get the chance to.
So I was reading in the court transcripts, it said that she was not actually at that house that night. He had called her and told her
to come get her stuff.
And said that he had another girl in the house or something like that, right? Mm-hmm. Can you, how that like transpired?
He said that, so he called her because she was working, and she was working at a bar, and when she had left there, he said that he was throwing all her stuff out, that they were done, he was with somebody else, and whatever. And so she went over there, and she was going to get all her things, because that's, I mean, everything that she had. She came here from Chicago to be with him. So, when she came here, she only had her clothes and whatever else, and he was going to throw it all away. And she wasn't having it. So she went to the house, and then I guess they were arguing, and
it almost sounds like he set a trap, like with.
It's
with
exactly.
that.
I mean,
that's what I think.
like premeditated for sure.
For sure.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. He's crazy.
So I remember, and it's weird because I remember talking to you about this, right? And you talked about Justin. So Justin Justin is Chet's brother,
right?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Now this man was not charged. He actually testified against Chet in the court proceedings.
That's probably why he wasn't charged.
Right.
For
Yeah, for sure.
testify.
So now he's saying so, and it's weird that because I'm going back and I was reading when I was researching for this, is I'm going back and I'm reading some of these old news articles, and they're saying like it's so weird that none of them ever say anything about our dad in any of the news articles, not one of them, and it was actually my dad's house.
Yeah,
you know, his name was on the lease.
Yeah,
which is crazy. It's not Chet's house. It wasn't Justin's house. It was my father's house, and I don't know if they. I don't want to go too far off a subject, and I feel like I should already ask this before, but where was Justin at when was he on the couch actually, or did he call him and say to come to the house?
Yeah,
Justin wasn't there.
And I remember you telling me that, and that's why like I'm trying to think
Justin
back. Justin
was not there.
So Chet called Justin to come help dispose of the body. Because in the court in the court stuff, it all says that he was sleeping on the couch.
Justin lied. Because Justin was not at my dad's house.
Yeah, it said that he was sleeping on the couch.
My dad said 100% he was not there.
Okay. Man, so he really did just go there to get rid of the
body. And then he said he was able to escape out the back door.
He lied.
That's so crazy.
He lied.
I can't believe
100% lied. And he said he was scared. Yeah. They were the same people. Them two were just as crazy.
So do you think that everything was left out about our dad so that Dad didn't have to testify?
Yes.
Okay, so that was the big thing.
Because Dad did not want to testify, nor did I want Dad to testify, because, I mean, Dad just hearing about Heather, it made him have a heart attack. So,
right.
Yeah. Dad wouldn't have been able to withhold the stand.
So luckily Chet admitted to it, so I think, which pretty much inevitably saved my dad from having to take the stand, I'm pretty sure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my dad talked to Chet. And Chet promised that he wouldn't bring my dad to the stand.
Really?
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Like after all that.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry I killed somebody in front of you, but...
Right. Because my dad said, that's the one thing that I wouldn't be able to do is sit up there and, testify and, relive all this whole situation over again and over again. So...
And that's probably why he wasn't charged.
Yeah.
Especially if he would have to be cross-examined by the defense. Mm-hmm. And they're going to try and make him look like an unreliable witness, and that's even more emotionally taxing.
And I would have freaked out.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely.
Yeah, it would have been bad.
So we talked about how this emotionally and physically affected your dad, but how did it affect you?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I saw them people every day.
Right.
Heather, she was so sweet.
Yeah. That's what's sweet, yeah.
And she just had a granddaughter. Her daughter just had a baby.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And the baby was premature, and she was helping, I don't want to say her name, but she was helping her daughter get, how to be a mom and showing her. And she loved that baby. Oh, my gosh. She spent every day in the hospital when that baby was born. The whole time the baby was in the NICU, she was there. It's just a sad situation all around. Yeah.
Wow. So, kind of, and it's a lot. It's a lot for me to take in too, because a lot of this stuff I never knew, and it's hard to put myself there, and just think that my dad had to go through that. It's crazy to me to think that with all the health issues that he had and everything else that happened in his life, and then he had to bear that the rest of his life too.
You never think it's going to happen to you, right?
Right.
It's always somebody. This isn't ever going to happen to me.
Another thing is when all this happened and Chet barricaded himself in the house and they had to break all the windows and do that flash grenade and it exploded one of my dad's oxygen tanks. And so in the house, he lost everything. My dad lost everything. We could only take his clothes. We could take, some memorable things, that we could take. But when the cops allowed me to go into the house and I could walk around and, get whatever was my dad's and whatever I knew that, we needed, his pictures and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And his dog was in the house. Right. And so... we grabbed everything that we could, but I seen, where she was. I seen they wrapped her in a rug and brought her into the basement. You know, like, I seen all of that, and he actually had, like, he painted on the floor. Like, he was, like, a Satanist, I think that's the word for it. And he painted on the floor, like, and he had candles all around. It was just, he was a lunatic. He was crazy.
Damn.
I've never seen anything like that. So, yeah.
Not only is this a murder and technically like a hostage situation, it's also a cult activity.
Jesus, I didn't know that.
Him and Justin brought her down to the basement, like, and she was wrapped in a rug, an area rug. So it was like, but you could see in the room where her blood was on the wall, or she had hair there. Like, it was all bad. And, you know, it's bad to say what he said about her, that she had the gun and they were doing sexual activities, and that was a full lie. No,
there's no way.
Right, it did not happen. I mean, I don't understand how she can get shot in the back of her head by her own hand.
And I mean, if it's an accident, you would probably call the police and try and clear things up instead of, I mean, you just having that like 11 hours or whatever, just a big standoff, that makes you look so guilty.
So guilty.
Yeah.
Because he was crazy.
All right, so if you could speak to Chester and Justin, like, now, what would you say?
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't?
I wouldn't speak to them.
It's probably a good option.
Yeah.
That's probably...
Like, Chester would probably want to speak to me. I know he would. Yeah. Because, I mean, we had some deep conversations when he was living with Dad. Because I've gone through all of this with Dad and him, like, for years before this even happened. Chet went to prison, got back out. I told Dad, don't allow him to live with you. He allowed him again, and it was just a big fight. I don't know, but he had his moments where he, you know, showed that he really cared for my dad. But then you do this, or you do, like, something else. Like, I find needles in the house, you know, knowing that my kids go there to see their grandpa, and it's just bad.
Wow.
Yeah, that is.
I wouldn't speak to him, though. I wouldn't give him my breath.
Yeah, I don't blame you. There's really not much that can be said to rectify that situation anyways.
Well, and you won't have to. I mean, they gave him life in prison.
Right.
Yeah.
For the charges were, was it first degree intentional homicide, and then a felon in possession of a firearm. So, I mean...
I think Justin should have got something, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but they wanted to nail Chester.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just the way the court system works. Unfortunately,
yeah, because there's we hear about those cases all the time where there's two people that, or even multiple people that should be in prison, but they give them immunity because they really want to nail one person, you know, and these other people get to have lives. Like, you know,
and I think it's definitely saved Dad with him being Justin speaking against his brother. You know, and that definitely helped Dad not to have to take the stand.
Of course, yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
So where I mean, if he lied a little bit to put this dude in prison for the rest of his life, I mean, I don't agree with it, but. I mean, saving my dad to have to relive all that again.
But so he's out now, right? His brother Justin.
I don't know where he's
out of prison.
So where is he? Is he still?
I think he's still in town.
Man.
Right.
He goes from here to, like, towards the Green Bay area.
Oh, okay.
And then he comes back here. It's just. Justin will always be institutionalized. Yeah. He's been in and out of prison his whole life. Well, they both were.
Wow. Well, I mean, I don't think there's really much more to be said on this, really.
No, that was... I already knew that it was a really scary story and scary situation, but to hear... like all the other stuff with like the satanic rituals and all that stuff, and that's just, I don't even know.
Yeah, he used to worship the devil. He used to tell me the devil tells him to do things, and
Jesus. Well, he's in the right place.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, somebody's life had to be taken, you know. And Heather at the age of 33 didn't deserve to die over something, you know, because some guys had some fucking delusions.
Yeah, some mental illness mixed with some drugs. From what it sounds like, that is a terrible cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Crystal, I mean, I know it wasn't easy for you to come over here and to do this with us, but we definitely appreciate it. I mean, you know, I love you with all my heart, and I appreciate you know, pouring out your emotions to us for our podcast. I mean, it means a lot to me. So, and I know it means a lot to Eric too.
It definitely does, and to for the listeners to be able to hear this and just the pain that it caused for so many people. And yeah, it's just,
my dad had to give up his
what, freedoms?
Yes, like his freedom of living by himself.
Yeah,
you know, because he moved in with me.
Right.
Yeah, and my dad, you know, he liked his own house, and and then, you know, it was just, I mean, it was very convenient for him to stay with me, because then, you know, I could take care of him and whatever, but he didn't agree with it at first. He wanted, but then we would have to get him everything new, and, you know, it was just better for him to stay with me.
Yeah, plus, I mean, coming out of that situation, it changes your life forever.
Yeah.
You know, who you are and how you deal with things, and it's just a terrible situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, shit. That was a lot.
It was a lot.
So what's next on the docket, Eric, for Find Me in the Dark?
Dude, I have no idea. Literally.
Well, we're doing...
Oh, yeah.
The second part.
I just remembered that.
I know. It's like, if you guys were inside this room, like, it's very somber. You know, it's
heavily emotional.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to try to change the beat
we're doing,
a little bit.
We're doing the Sikh temple shooting.
Right. Which is the second part of our Wisconsin domestic
which
terrorism.
totals up to 3 crimes in 7 years.
Which is crazy that we decided to do this in the time that we're doing it now. And I don't.
That's what I'm saying. We named it Wisconsin Domestic Terror.
and all this stuff's going on, and obviously you guys all know that we're in, or if you don't know, we're in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I don't want to get into it at all, really. Just know that we're safe. We stand, you know, behind our brothers, and we know that there needs to be a change in this world, and it's unfortunate that it's happening anywhere, you know, including our hometown.
It's unfortunate that these opportunists from out of town are coming in and burning our city to
ground. And making something that's supposed to change, you know, make a change, and we see. I mean, I see this town where this town has come together more than I've ever seen in my lifetime here. You know, and I've been here for 35 years, the majority of my life. You know, and it's just, it's sad to see these people come in and try to destroy our town.
It's sad to come out, you know, Tuesday morning and I'm trying to walk to the store down the street, and it looks like a post-apocalyptic city. Like, there's boarded up everything. I mean,
there's buildings burnt down. Army everywhere.
Yeah,
you know, it's crazy, man.
Yeah, and then I walk into the local store that is a minority owned business, and the front door is shattered, and there's a ton of stuff missing. They got robbed, and it's just it's hard to explain.
Like I said, we don't want to dive too deep into it. I think
that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, we'll come out with something once we find the right words to say. I mean, right now we're trying to keep our city safe, our family safe.
Yeah.
And, you know, and hopefully change will come, you know, and the right changes come.
Well, I would like to say that walking around today, because I was walking around earlier, there's a lot of beautiful artwork being done on the boarded up windows with really positive messages.
Oh, I think that was the greatest thing, and I was talking to my sister on the way over here, is, you know, instead of seeing all these everything boarded up, now our communities come together and they're making art on all this, you know, and so instead of seeing this, you know, dull wood, now you're seeing these vibrant colors and these beautiful messages, and you know, people need to come together, and you know, it's nice to see. Right now, as we speak, there is a massive protest going on. Thousands of people are walking our streets right now, you know, to try to make a change.
Yeah.
You know, and that's good. It's of all walks of life. It's beautiful.
It's inspiring.
It's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
You know, and us, we stand with it wholeheartedly, man.
Yeah.
So, anyways, like I said, I don't want to we're off on a tangent, but this is our micro episode that's super emotional, and like I said, thank you again, Crystal and Eric. You know,
no problem.
You can do your. I won't steal your thunder, bro. I know I try to.
Both of you guys, good job today.
Same to you, my friend.
All right, guys, find me in the dark. Out.